Hi, Cornerstone. Today's Cornerstone connection comes from Isaiah 44. In this chapter, Isaiah exposes the absurdity of idols. One of the best books I've ever read on the topic of idolatry is Tim Keller's Counterfeit Gods. In this book, Keller defines an idol as this. He says it's anything more important to you than God. Anything that absorbs your heart and imagination more than God. Anything you seek to give you what only God can give. Keller goes on and he says, an idol is anything so essential or central to your life that should you lose it, your life would hardly feel like it's worth living. Idols are all around us. Anything in life can be an idol. Family can be an idol. Your career, being well liked, a social issue, a relationship, a hobby, yes, even Christian ministry can become an idol. You see, in Isaiah chapter 43, what we see is that God's people have been going through the motions in worshiping Him. They're no longer eager to worship Him like they once were. And what that indicates is that they've fallen into idolatry. And here in Isaiah 44, Isaiah talks about idolatry and exposes them and how absurd it is to worship something that is created rather than the Creator. And so here in this passage, Isaiah says this in Isaiah 44, verse 14. Just listen to how absurd idolatry is. Isaiah says, "He that is a carpenter cuts down cedars, or he chooses a cypress tree, or an oak, and lets it grow strong among the trees of the forest. He plants a cedar, and the rain nourishes it. Then it becomes fuel for man. He takes part of it and warms himself. He kindles a fire and bakes bread. Also, he makes a god and worships it. He makes it an idol and falls down before it. Half of it he burns in the fire. Over the other half he eats meat. He roasts it and is satisfied. And he also warms himself and says, 'Aha, I am warm. I have seen the fire.' And the rest of it he makes into a god, his idol, and falls down and worships it. He prays to it and says, 'Deliver me, for you are my God.'" You see what Isaiah is doing here? He's pointing just how absurd it is to worship creation. Here we have a man who cuts down a tree. There's nothing wrong with cutting down trees. He takes that tree and he warms himself. He makes a fire out of it with the wood. Well, that's fine as well. It's good to be warmed by the fire. He bakes bread. He makes meat over this fire. Those are good and fine things. But then he takes the wood that's left over and he fashions an idol out of it and asks that piece of wood to save him. That is absolutely absurd. He's taking creation and looking to it to give him something that only God can give. He's looking to it to deliver him, to save him, when only God can do that. He's worshiping a part of the creation when the only person who should ever be worshiped is the one true living God. We come to passages like this and we say to ourselves, I would never do that. I would never do something so absurd. But when you think about it, we do the very same things. Our idolatry that we have is a bit more sophisticated, a bit more insidious. Sometimes we're bowing down to created objects like our phones, giving all of our time and attention to them. Other times we're consumed by some social cause, or even good things like our family or relationships or our career. You see, idolatry, again, is making a good thing into a God thing. It's prioritizing something more than God. John Calvin once argued that the human heart is an idol factory. And I think you and I can both agree, yes, amen to that. Our hearts are sinful and we make idols all the time. We look to our idols to deliver us, to save us, just as Isaiah pointed out in this passage. We say, I'm bored, and so I need this thing to deliver me from my boredom. I feel insignificant or meaningless. I need this person, this thing, this idea to give me significance. I'm feeling lonely, so I need a relationship. I'm feeling discontent, so I need that thing. You see, how can we identify our idols? Tim Keller gives us a great list in his book, and he says, there are things like we can look at this. We can say to ourselves, life only has meaning if I have power or influence over others. If that's true for you, you probably have power idolatry. Or maybe this, life only has meaning or I have worth if I only have a certain level of wealth or freedom or very nice possessions. Or life only has meaning or I only have worth if my children or parents are happy with me. Maybe that's some sort of family idolatry. And the list goes on through this diagnostic tool that Keller gives. My point is this. Idolatry is all around us. We are just as much prone to fall into idolatry as the people in Isaiah's day did. And here's what the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10:13. He says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide a way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. Therefore, my beloved, flee from idolatry." Church, flee from idolatry. Figure out, identify what your idols are and flee from it. And God is going to give you the power and the strength and the ability to flee. That's good news. And so, church, see the absurdity of idolatry. Recognize there is only one true God. There's only one Creator who lovingly fashioned us, and serve and worship him alone.